So as I said, we're going to start off with some introductions and then just flow into who is LMI. Les Mills International, I think, is a great Kiwi success story from reasonably small beginnings with a desire to really take on the world and create an incredibly strong brand and export that across the shores. We want to look at the changing business model, really what has driven the desire to change systems, and then we look at the solution architecture to actually support the changing business environment and really sort of explore some of the reasons why we needed to do that. I guess what we're talking about here is we had to create the foundations for success, and Neville will be stepping through the benefits that they've realised from the session, from the installations of various software components, and then we'll just wrap up with some summary and some QA. So if you guys are expecting to see any coding or any sort of product pieces, then I'm sadly, we're not particularly techie folk. We're more business orientated. So it's very much a business stream. So yeah, apologies if you're expecting to see us do some coding, because that sadly won't happen. So as I said, my name's James Page. I'm the Dynamics AX service line lead at Intergen. I started at Intergen probably about 2 years ago, where we wanted to kick off a new AX practice, and we are now the largest Dynamics partner in New Zealand. Been involved in the solution set and the industry for a number of years, about 12 years since Dynamics AX was first launched in 1998, and since then had the pleasure of being involved in 45 odd implementations and some great success stories here in New Zealand, and certainly enjoyed greatly being part of the Les Mills implementation. So with that, I'll just hand over to Neville to introduce him.
Thank you, James. So I've joined Les Mills in February of last year, and previous to that I was with BMW AG in Munich. Various roles you can see on there. Probably the most pertinent there was head of IT at the mini manufacturing plant in Oxford. And previous to that, I worked in IBM Global Services as a manager and a network engineer. My university background was classical archaeology and ancient history, so clearly IT is a logical choice for me. Although I've been in IT 18 years, so I'm starting to feel like an old relic myself. So, Les Mills International. I'm sure quite a few people in this room will have heard of Les Mills and what we do. But to summarise, we are the world's biggest fitness brand. And we've been established quite a long time. So if any of you New Zealanders here remember Jazzercise, then that's the link. And every single week, millions of people actually work out to a Les Mills program in over 13,000 fitness clubs in 75 countries worldwide. We have 8 programs at the moment, including Body Pump and RPM, and we are expanding our portfolio to include more. And we also provide support to our programs and supporting products such as barbells and club count software. We continue to innovate in our field, and this year we introduced our own clothing range, and we are shortly about to introduce a 9th product called Shabam to the market. And from our offices in Auckland, we create new music and moves for those programs every 3 months. We distribute them on DVD to over 70,000 instructors worldwide. And wherever possible, we like to use original music. We also provide comprehensive support to our global licensees in the form of instructor training, marketing, and promotional material, and a unique group fitness management system, which helps our clubs and instructors around the world maximize the business potential of our programs. So the message is, we are people small, but we do have a worldwide reach. And what I'd like to do now is give you a little sample of our vision of where we've come from and where we want to take Les Mills.
All of my life, my family were involved with sport. When I was a little boy growing up, half of our house in Grey Lynn was the Auckland Weightlifting Association. When I was 13, we started our first gym. My first job out of university was actually in the music industry. It gave me a desire to bring entertainment to the fitness industry. This mix, when we launched it in New Zealand, really became a cultural revolution here.
By the mid-1980s, we had nearly 100 licensees, but we had almost 1,000 teachers. The lessons that we learnt in the 1980s helped us to be more successful when we took on the world in the 1990s.
Let's see how far we've come. Let's see how far we've come. Let's see how far we've come. Keep pushing for the truth and I keep rocking all the time. To the rush, got reason to want more than mine. Situation we must all define. Ready to get the tapestry and draw the line. All the line, right back in the door, one of the screens. So drawn, rocking with the sunshine team. Hooked up with Iggy and BTV. Third soldier, all the scene, sunshine complete. Shining in the mix, now I was reputation of time. The songs that remind us of the memories lie. Years straight pushing for that truth and lies. Films and music will begin to rise. All in line, new millennium for all to see. All my ancestors to support the dream. Represent upon the floor and on the screen. Remember who we are, where we're being, and the future of the right for me. And we pushing for that truth and light. Keep pushing and we pushing for that truth and light. Keep pushing and we pushing for that truth and light.
Very good. So I hope that in 2.5 minutes gives you a little bit more of a background to who we are and where we want to go. To expand on where we want to go in some more depth, 15 years ago we had about 500 clubs signed up to one product. And we're now looking at over 20,000 clubs and beyond. And we wish to touch over 100 million people, either as participants or consumers. Certainly what we've found is as our business continues to grow, it does become more difficult to manage. And we can't meet the growth rates that we wish and that we've had by just employing new people. That's simply not going to work. And we also must maintain our track record of innovation in our business in order to stay ahead. In order to understand our business challenges, I must first explain a little bit more detail our business model. And I do apologise, I'm going to switch back a little bit to my automotive background and try and produce an analogy that will hopefully explain things to everybody. So like automotive, we are a factory that makes a high quality product. We have distributors around the world and they are missioned to selling the product to clubs, so they're like dealers. The instructors actually deliver the product, in other words, to show us how to drive in the best way. And participants take part in the classes. Our business historically, from a New Zealand point of view, from an IT point of view, has been in the business systems that run in the core of our business. And we've also had a very successful online representation, which gets us out to participants, but also has allowed us to touch our distributors and our clubs. But that business model actually needs to change. And how we need to change it is to keep the online space and the e-commerce driving our connectivity with our customers, so our participants, our instructors, and giving our clubs material to be able to leverage our products. But at the core, we need a business engine that's focused on delivering business value to the core of LMI, but also to our distributors. The sort of issues that we've faced in the past, I'm sure many of you have faced in the various businesses that you work within. So information sometimes has difficulty flowing, and there is an over-reliance on Excel. You know, Excel is an excellent product. It's a very good business intelligence product, but we don't want to be using it all of the time. Quite often information isn't timely, so you know, information is great, but if it arrives too late or it's not granular enough, then it's really useless. Information quite often can be unreliable, and it's certainly unreliable where you have to make assumptions because you're missing key facts. So one of the challenges for us is to be able to stop making assumptions and actually get the information that we need. Information as well quite often doesn't support our business processes, and those business processes are manual and time-consuming. And finally, we found that information is not always consistent. So, which brings us on to, having given you a little bit of the background, why we need to change, and I'm going to ask James to speak about that.
So to deliver timely, consistent information without a whole plethora of Excel spreadsheets and manipulation, we needed to consider changing systems. In order to go from this, which essentially represents a whole load of spaghetti, joining up a whole set of disparate business systems, to a slightly cleaner system whereby we essentially achieved a single data repository for interaction across all boundaries. So to start off with, to paint a better picture about Les Mills' business and the number of entities that they're operating, Les Mills have 13 separate entities across 3 continents. And this obviously creates a little bit of a multi-company headache in terms of the consolidation process. In support of their business, they had 13 separate finance and accounting systems. So as you can imagine, that the whole administration and support process and the intercompany processing between those was significantly less efficient than it could be. So during month end, we saw a fairly familiar situation, and then a lot of businesses support their month-end process with the whole swathe of Excel spreadsheets. And in this instance, we had 13 separate month-end spreadsheets, leading to a manual consolidation spreadsheet, and then finally getting our results out. However, that took 20 days. If there are any finance people in the room, they'll all be gasping at this stage, but for those technical people, 20 days is not good. We needed some system and process changes. The target, and it is still a target, the target is 3 to 4 days. So this is closing the entire, all of the entities across the 3 continents that are operating in order to get quick information to the business leaders. So naturally, we needed to consider some change in the architecture to support the desires of the business to create this timeliness of information, this accuracy of information that was desperately needed. So I think that the secret of LMI success in the preceding work that they did was that they started off with the outcome in mind. So they started off with what they termed the big rocks. And the big rocks was the BI strategy. So looking at the way in which they wanted to measure the business and taking that as the foundation stone, we were able to then define a vision around the Microsoft solution stack. and then using a very much a process-driven approach, design the solution around Microsoft Dynamics CRM and AX to deliver on the big rocks. I guess finally, and something to be called out, a great success of the management team is that they very, very closely managed the scope throughout the project and staged the go live in sensible package releases across the globe, rather than to try to take on the world in one bite. So, in order to achieve a single environment across multiple borders and to consolidate those 13 separate accounting systems, we needed to create a joined-up architecture based on Microsoft technologies. So embracing the stack, and by the stack I mean the Microsoft solution stack, we implemented Dynamics AX and Dynamics CRM with a Scribe interface. And anyone needs to talk about Scribe afterwards, by all means catch me. To create a seamless operation across all of the 13 companies and the 3 continents. In terms of being able to collaborate with all of the internal and external parties, both distributors and employees alike, LMI were looking to implement SharePoint 2010 and to get a fully integrated picture across the business with reporting services and other BI technologies, which we'll go into in a second. To support their clothing and merchandise processes, they reached out to the participants using an existing integrated web store which was hosted and then integrated back into the ERP solution. All of this was previously, most of the integration pieces were predominantly manual. So in essence, this created what's now the Les Mills solution stack. So that's the foundations of where the business, what business is now put in. So where to from here? Well, there's a lot about the cloud going on at the moment in all of the tech ed sessions. It seems to be cloud this, cloud that, and it would be inappropriate of us not to mention cloud. Yep. What we want to be able to do is now create an environment where we can surface all of these solutions up into a hosted cloud environment, and to make it easier to embrace and touch the participants, the clubs and the instructors to drive greater brand awareness across the globe. I shall hand over to Neville, who shall go through business benefits.
Right, so what I wanted to talk about now in the last half of the presentation is really the specific business issues that we had and how we leveraged predominantly Microsoft products in order to realize some business benefits. So Microsoft have several value pillars that they focus upon, and for us these 4 are the most important. So building better relationship, to gain business insight, to enable more productive people and processes, and to respond to changing business conditions and to promote IT agility. And what you'll see during the next, I think it's 4 slides, is for each one of the issues that we've got, these will actually flash up and tell you where they were relevant in terms of the solutions. So, as James briefly touched upon, we have duplicate systems. So, one of the issues is we have duplicate sales systems between different entities. So we have CRM, but we also have ACT, Salesforce, and other ones. And because those business units have developed their processes in isolation, quite often the sales processes themselves are unaligned. So how can we possibly hope to have an integrated BI solution and get consistent BI from our sales force when the processes aren't the same? And obviously the answer is we can't, which means that we get inconsistent business intelligence. So the solution was to utilize an existing CRM that we had in North America. We upgraded that to CRM version 4 to make sure that we could take advantage of the multi-tenanted capabilities of that system. And then we migrated, or in the process of migrating, the ACT users into CRM. What you'll see here in terms of the timing is if it's -6, it means we've done all that within the last 6 months. And if it's +6, it means it's either going on at the moment or we will have that work finished in the next 6 months. The next set of issues were the process that flows on from the sales process, which we call the operations process. That's the process of managing clubs. It's highly manual. And as a result, the operation reporting can be difficult for us. And there is actually a gap in between the sales and the operations process. So the task that we're undertaking at the moment is to actually systemize that operations process. We're actually going to utilize CRM to surface the AX info. So there's an element of financial information that's very important to the operations process, but we don't want to give everybody around the world clearly access directly into AX, so we're using CRM to surface that information. And we're also taking out any legacy CRM processes that existed in an older system, a Great Plains system we had in North America, and making sure that's in CRM version 4. So next, we had the situation where clearly separate businesses, separate legacy systems costs us money. Duplicate accounting systems, I think James has brought that message home very, very clearly. But also our reliance on actually a very, let's say, energy-poor data center in North America. So we had our systems actually housed in California. It's not the greenest state in the United States of America. Itself not a very green country. So what we really wanted to do was change out of that. So what we did was we integrated those agencies that I'm talking about into our New Zealand domain. We retired Great Plains. We took all of the QuickBooks data into AX, and we actually virtualized and brought those servers to New Zealand, and we run them from New Zealand. So, several other issues, and again, these really are the ones that James was talking about, so I'm not going to discuss them in any more detail other than to add the fact that reporting and getting any dashboards from that, the fact that quite a few of the financial processes were in our heads and not written down, that we would struggle with multi-currency and multi-country environments, and we're also told by our auditors we had a slight issue with segregation of duties as well. So the solution for that was clear. That was Dynamics AX. The final point is there that we did want to take on the books of another couple of agencies very, very quickly. And again, by getting them to follow the same process as us and put that process into AX, that was actually a very, very quick win for us. We were able to do that very, very quickly. So, more issues. Master data issues, all that data in different places, poor flow between systems, duplicate data. Again, by putting down the business process flows on paper before we actually went in to implementing the Dynamics product really, really helped us. There's no arguments within the business about how a business process works because it's down on paper. We spent a lot of time doing master data planning and getting the data from those other systems into AX, and that was a job really, really well done because we had very few issues with that post go live. And at the moment we're leveraging the Scribe product more and more as we integrate more between CRM and AX. So other issues, moving our servers to New Zealand, being able to use capacity more effectively. So we had 4 servers in the US, we had 7 in New Zealand. Quite often they weren't being overutilized, let's say. Our ability to react to environments very, very quickly, and also our need to be able to take advantage of the cloud when it really is upon us. And the way that we did that was actually virtualizing our servers here in New Zealand. So we bought about a year ago a nice big blade, and we've been continually using that. But that will be the last time I buy a blade. So I'm putting my money on the cloud being there and our ability to be able to move the Dynamics Suite up there by the time that we need to buy some more servers. Salesforce mobility has been an issue for us in the past. Salesforce quite often saying, well, actually, your systems aren't usable in the field. I can't even log on, which means they're not putting data in, which is a major headache for us. So we've done some fairly simple things there by utilizing the Outlook CRM client and also giving an SSL VPN and offline sync so that they can actually have that data locally. So moving into the last set of issues. So collaborating with agents, being able to gather structured data, that is a real issue from us. As we've said, we've got those some distributors which we own, but the vast majority of the 30 distributors worldwide, they're their own business. They have their own ERP systems, account systems, CRM systems. They do things in their own way. So getting data from them in the format that we need it can be a challenge for us. And also around actually managing clubs and agents, there's a lot of events and calendars that we need to manage. So a project that we're undertaking at the moment is actually to integrate all of those things into SharePoint 2010 and to have at the start a sales portal, but at the end of the day it will be a distributors portal so that they can get the information they need from us in a structured way, but we can also get from them what we need to be able to do our business intelligence. In terms of enterprise search, being able to have dashboards and the timely servicing of reports, but most importantly, delivering the things that people need to see and not delivering them anything else. We've got about 100 reports within our business. You can't surface a dashboard and give an individual 100 reports. They need to be bespoke. So, yes, we're using SharePoint internally to do that. And the management of our production process. As we've said at the beginning, we're expanding our portfolio of products. We release those world-class products every 3 months without fail at the same time. That's a process that can be systemized, and we can introduce some efficiencies into that process as we develop more and more offerings for the market. And what we'll be looking at actually in October is utilizing SharePoint and AX to systemize that whole process. So the last set of issues you'd be glad to hear. Providing operational reports for key users, primarily people that want finance information, but also others, and management reports. It's always been an issue for us. So we're at the moment utilizing the report manager in AX, and we've done that since go live, but we're also using Management Reporter, which gives us a much higher drill down capability utilizing that product. In terms of doing ad hoc reporting and the ability to report across several systems. So, we're really good at doing that stuff, out of AX. We're getting really good at reporting out of CRM, but there's other information. We're actually utilizing SSRS at the moment and looking into Power Pivot at the moment to do that. Finally, next year, I do need to replace my 9-year-old Siemens HiCom telephone system. I do need for that telephony to integrate with our CRM system, especially for the sales, but also for the operations process. I want the ability to communicate globally, and I want it all on a common platform. So you all know what the answer is. This is TechEd after all. So from April onwards, we'll be implementing Office 2010. We'll be looking at the next generation of CRM, and also OCS version 15 to meet those challenges. So having told you all about my problems, but also the solutions, I'd like to hand back to James to cover the closing moments.
So before we finish off, I just wanted to highlight what I feel was some of the critical success factors about the project. Les Mills have done a lot of things very, very well in this project. I think first and foremost, they need to be congratulated for planning with the end game in mind. And I've already mentioned the big rocks, but to go into a business to actually understand precisely what they were trying to achieve in the long term and then being able to design systems around that made life very much simpler. I think the other success, next success that I need to call out is their willingness to have a strategic partnership. The project team and the steering committee are very, very much committed to strategic partners. And in that track, we have worked very closely with them to develop their overall solution stack and trying to extract further value out of their investment. As with all projects, there is change. I guess it's testimony to the strength of their project team and their steering committee to the way in which they effectively manage that change. And I would certainly applaud Neville and his colleagues on the way in which they had executed that. It was a very, very tight governance layer across the project, and due to that fact, I think that drove a significant amount of success and sticking to budget, sticking to time, and sticking on quality, which if anyone knows the triangle, it's sometimes quite difficult to get time, cost, and quality all meeting in the middle. But I would applaud them on the way in which they achieved that. I think that the way in which they went through the selection process and actually committed to the Microsoft stack reasonably early on allowed the business to shape a vision for themselves as well as with us. And that is another key success factor to delivering on this project. The last one I wanted to call out is a really well-managed program of works. We were rolling out to 3 different continents, 13 separate accounting systems, and there were actually, in terms of the business, there were about sort of 3 different business models that were in operation. And we needed to create a fairly pragmatic approach to rolling these solutions out to all of the various different locations. Les Mills are a very, very forward-thinking business. They have a small number of staff in terms of other international businesses, but have a great reach internationally. And they did not have the staff to throw at the training of all of the various international businesses. So a very pragmatic approach to the way in which they scoped out the rollout was another core critical success factor. So really just to round out what we've gone through, the challenges that the business faced was around global reach, but people small. I guess the challenges of rapid growth and up until now misaligned systems is a classic Kiwi story. And it's been testament to the Les Mills team. They really got to grips with the problem and put a strategy in place to address that. Obviously, we've talked about all of the disparate solutions and the multiple accounting packages that were in place that causes a whole host of headaches, particularly with data conversion, and there were some issues around that. But we still needed to be able to support the innovation of the business, but without trying to break a mold. We wanted to create a reliable and packageable, if that's a word, a packageable IT platform that would be relatively reproducible in other locations. So the solution to those challenges was really the dedication to the Microsoft Solutions Stack, a single system for all geographies. And then really, as I've already called out, it's starting at the beginning with a strategy. The BI strategy was actually really core to the success of what the Les Mills team has managed to create. And what it's created is basically a business that has a fit IT core, and it's able to support the vision going forward, both now, 5, 10 years long. So I'd just like to say thank you very much, and really open to the floor for questions. And we'll hopefully be able to step through that, but otherwise, thank you.
Any questions?
Why did they have another look at other systems? Why did you choose Microsoft?
Yes, we did. So we looked at actually 4 separate products in the marketplace. 2 of them were Microsoft products and 2 of them weren't. And the reasons that I have to be honest that with some of the core functionality that we needed in certain elements, there were elements that could be done slightly better in other systems. But the fact that we could do pretty much everything that we wanted and get a high degree of integration out of the box was the reason that we chose primarily Dynamics AX. We chose AX over NAV, for example, because of the difficulties that we've got with multi-country, dealing with multiple currencies, and really the roadmap for that product really was taking us where we want to go. And technically, I quite like the architecture of the product as well. But primarily, it's the ease of integration with other products. And I have to say, I'm not, given my previous business experience, coming from IBM, I'm not always the biggest Microsoft fan, I have to be honest. I haven't been in the past, but this is the first time that I've seen really a business strategy with all the products of where it's actually converging. And it makes sense for us as a business to jump on the back of that conversion. Now, I come from a company where there's 103,000 people working there, so you could do your own IT systems if you wanted. But right now, in a company of less than 150 people, we're not going to develop our own product. And so the roadmap was actually the thing that appealed to me the most. Does that answer your question?
How big's your IT team?
My IT team, my core IT team is 2.5 people. I also have 2 business intelligence analysts, and we also get our sort of day-to-day operations and help desk support from an external party.
Just seems like you've done what you have done in the last 6 months and 6 months in the future is quite a lot of work.
Correct. And to be honest, sometimes you think in the day-to-day, we're not getting through anything, and then it's really great to be able to come to sessions like this and summarise what you've done, because you think, we have done quite a lot. But the key really is the partnerships that we've got. We've got 4 key business partners that we use, primarily in the Dynamics field. It's obviously Intergen, and you simply couldn't do it without them. So.
How much customization do you have to do for the AX?
Again, given my background of working with SAP and having quite a large amount of customization, it was a case of customization over my dead body, so pretty much 0 in answer to your question. And it just makes it so much easier to support. So we did have some pain in changing the business process to suit the system, but really taking that pain early on means we don't have the pain of upgrades and all of those things that I'm sure you know about.
So I'm at SAP Financials as well. So what about audibility? Do you have because you said sort of segregation of duties being
Yep.
your issue, so obviously SAP, the auditors like it.
Yep.
Basically, so how do you...
And they love AX as well. So our auditors have come in subsequently, seen what we've done. In fact, the segregation of duties and how we've set all of those things up was under their direction. They were in, I think, 3 months ago, and they'll be in another 12 months. So they're pretty happy. Any other questions? Some questions for James, perhaps questions of a more technical nature.
Choice of Scribe versus BizTalk. Interesting variation from the stack.
It's definitely a James question.
Thank you. Yes, Intergen both support BizTalk and Scribe. I guess it was Scribe was used principally because one, they already were using it in one of the locations. In terms of the level of interactions to third-party apps, which are minimal at best, meant that really throwing BizTalk at this particular problem was not necessarily the best course of action. So it was eventually, we went down the Scribe route basically because it was already in situ and made sense with the use case. Does that help?
Yeah, to some degree. I mean, with BizTalk, we've noticed in the past the lack of connectors for some of the AX and Dynamics products to talk to each other, and I was wondering if that had been part of your...
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair to BizTalk, Scribe requires some setup and additional connectors. And whilst there's some connectors supposedly out of the box, there's still work to be done in that space. So you can't equally. It's difficult to compare the level of work between one and the other equally. Yeah. Anyone else?
How big was the team from it?
The team from Intergen, there was about 6 of us on the project at any one time. Principally, there was 2 main consultants on there. Myself as a solution architect, working predominantly with Neville and the CFO Doug Robb. Then there's some technical backroom folk. Yeah. Yes.
So what we're, in terms of the initial setup of the product and actually the first sets of reports, we're actually using Intergen to do that. And in a parallel stream, we're also training our business intelligence analysts how to use products like SSRS and Power Pivot and others. So the intention is that they will, once the platform is there and ready, so as I was saying in the presentation, we're doing the sales portal at the moment, we'll actually run with it ourselves.
Is there any intent to use the performance point capabilities in SharePoint, given that you're already starting down some of that route with Power Pivot?
Yes, and in terms of some of the additional requirements that we've got around perhaps self-service and those things, that's something that we're actively looking into, I would say, over the next 3 months, but right now, not.
Futures?
Yes.
So just on, there's all your step through reporting out of AIX as well, like you're not using something like Cognos or...
Nope. Nope. We bet the farm on AX.
All of the statutory reporting is coming out of AX, and I think a lot of value has been driven from its intercompany and consolidation capability. So it makes sense to drive that out of there. With Management Reporter as a layer just beneath that, that's producing the normal sort of P&L balance sheet, income statements, cash flow statements, and the like. But, yeah.
When you were splitting the multi-tenancy, did you use a single deployment for CRM, or did you use several deployments that you then consolidated?
What we've actually done is we've used a single deployment, and then we're integrating the separate businesses into those. So yeah, it's an interesting exercise that we're going through at the moment, but I think it's the easiest way of getting to where we want to go. Okay, then I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.